Nowadays, we are swamped with a ton of options in regards to multiplayer shooters that are not only free but also have a ton of quality in terms of mechanics, graphics, and gunplay, making for some really solid experiences altogether. Back in the 2000s, when we had games like Crossfire or Combat Arms or Sudden Attack, Soldier Front, Wolf Team, GunZ Online, S4 League, and Alliance of Valiant Arms, they were fun to play at the time but also had a lot of issues of their own and haven't aged as well. Whether it would be weapon balancing, pay-to-win weapons, hacking, or vote kicking for random reasons just for being good, they would often plague these games that were quite decent despite all of their flaws, and some that were even unique, like GunZ Online. But as time passed on, the tech would also grow and allow for not only good-looking games or well-made ones, but also ones that were free. The stuff we have now, like Warzone or Apex Legends or Valorant, CSGO, Team Fortress 2, PUBG, Halo Infinite's multiplayer component, those games are on a whole different dimension compared to what came before in the 2000s. They're all free and have a good level of polish to them in the same manner as the AAA games. They have large communities and healthy competition between each other. It can be difficult to compete in today's climate for multiplayer because of what you're up against. There have been some genuinely good multiplayer games that are really well made, but never really popped off in the same way as the mainstream counterparts. They do still have some players, but aren't massively popular. There are multiplayer games with a price tag that don't end well either because of marketing or existing algorithms not currying in their favor, as well as the presence of popular free games. Very few paid experiences have, however, blown up and have managed to have healthy player bases like BattleBit Remastered, Hunt Showdown, Escape from Tarkov, and Rainbow Six Siege. With the amount of quality multiplayer games available now, and these were just the shooters that I was talking about, mind you, you have plenty of options and you'll generally have a good time either way. Generally. But there's another avenue that's often overlooked, an area where you wouldn't expect to find some genuinely well-made shooters that have had a lot of effort put into them. These games. Roblox has been around since forever, even before some of the people in the community said that it was better in the 2000s. Its origins can be traced all the way back to '89, where a simulated physics lab called Interactive Physics would be created by the company that would make Roblox later on. The people then could use a combination of shapes to simulate collisions, or simply just put things together like cars or houses, even people. This level of experimentation would eventually go on to realize the idea of Roblox, the gigantic platform that we have today. It's a platform that has from the beginning been targeted towards kids, and is still popular amongst kids and teenagers. A lot of them play and even create games of their own for other people to enjoy. But in between that, there have also been other projects made for almost any demographic, and there are even various age groups that exist within the community now. You have a very mixed bag of games on the platform itself. There's a lot of garbage, there's clones of other games, and some games are on an amateur level but still have a lot of effort put into them by their creators. However, there are also a few diamonds in the rough that are not only really good, but also have a ton of content pumped into them with healthy player bases and an interactive community, whether they be life simulators or RPGs, social hubs, MMOs, racing games, or shooters. There are a metric ton of options out there for people to enjoy, and they're all on a platform that's easy to dismiss because it's made for kids. Of course though, Roblox does also have its dark corners. People that go on there for more nefarious or sinister reasons, or the exploitation of younger developers, and the reality of making money on there. It's an unfortunate side effect of such a huge platform that nowadays has amazing potential with the level of creativity that it allows. And in this video, I will be focusing more on that aspect, on some of the shooters that I've played and really enjoy, and could see myself playing them again in the future. Now, a lot of these shooters that I've played mechanically feel pretty different from each other, but they all have one thing in common, and it's that you can hop into a game pretty much immediately. You have your main menus and your options, and there's usually the option to either deploy or to play the game straight away. You can generally find a match, and people often talk and chat. You can go from something non-violent and kid-friendly like Big Paintball to something like Frontlines, a game that is essentially a Modern Warfare 2019 clone within Roblox. The variety here is great, and this is just in the shooter department, and there's different experiences altogether. So I'll go over some of the games that I've played and I'll talk about them a bit. Phantom Forces is a Battlefield 3 and 4 inspired game that gives you fairly large-scaled maps. Maybe not to the size of BattleBit, but large enough with enough players to get some action going. The gunplay is pretty spot on here, mimicking Battlefield 3 and 4 pretty well, and the variety of weapons and customization is insane, offering more than even some of the most popular free-to-play shooters today in this category. Customization, like I said, is great too, but you need to play the game regularly and use the weapon often enough to rank it up and unlock more upgrades. You'll generally be able to find a match on any given day because it's one of the more popular shooters played in the Roblox community, and it's also one of my personal favorites here. Counterblocks is quite literally a clone of CSGO. You have the same sort of maps like Mirage, Vertigo, Inferno, DDoS 2, Agency, and so on. The same weapons and the same sort of recoil system. You do, however, have some missing weapons and maps, but it's still overall a really solid version of CS that's worth trying out. And you also have either casual for 5v5 matches, or DM just to buy anything and get frags in. For those that are interested in skins, you can obtain cases and get skins and even trade with other players and try to get a butterfly knife to join the elite crowd of players. Big Paintball is a paintball-based shooter with a variety of game modes and a lot of weapons to choose from that you can obtain by earning currency that you get from tags or leveling up. It's more of a non-violent game that's accessible for kids and reminds me of another game that I talked about called Paint Warfare made by Banana Dev. That's another really good multiplayer game that I would recommend checking out if you're interested. I'll put a link in it in the description as well. But like that game that I just mentioned, Big Paintball can also be enjoyed by anyone, even if it's more of a kids-oriented game. It has a really nice aesthetic visually with the bright colors and low poly environments. The game is, however, spam city. You just go to one corner and spam at the spawn point, or use your weapons like artillery and fire across on the bridge map. Also, a lot of the weapons are projectile based, so it's more about timing than just simply crosshair placement on the body. There is also a paid beta for the sequel game that looks to be an improvement on its predecessor. You can buy it for 200 Robux or just wait for its full release. Bad Business is a Call of Duty-like shooter with a great sense of movement, an appealing art style, and a huge range of weapons and customization. It's one of the most solid shooters that I've played on this platform, and you can generally always find a match without any issues. Movement is pretty quick and weapons feel very responsive. Maps are quite nice and are well made. It's one of the more popular shooters next to other games like Phantom Forces and Arsenal. Like a lot of the shooters you can find here, as well as the games that I mentioned, you can also get your hands on skins, animated ones too that you need to pay money for. Some other skins can also be applied to your weapon, and more weapon-specific ones obtained through challenges like you would do in Call of Duty. Bad Business is another favorite of mine so far, and I would highly recommend checking this game out. Frontlines, like I said, is a Modern Warfare 2019 Roblox clone that went viral at one point when it first appeared, getting other content creators and Call of Duty players to try out the game. It was being said at the time that the game had better movement than MW22, and people seem to have actually enjoyed it. The game even helped continue to dispel the myth that you couldn't make good-looking games on Roblox. It has a handful of weapons, but they feel pretty good to use, and it's close to replicating Modern Warfare 2019's gunplay. To unlock the other weapons, you need to level up a fair bit, but you also have customization that's pretty similar to 2019, with a ton of different options for unique builds. For what it is, it's actually really well put together for a Roblox game. It just needs more content, that's all. Would recommend checking it out if you're looking for something close to MW 2019, but doesn't make you download 100 gigs of data minimum just for Warzone. No Scope Arcade is pretty self-explanatory. You have sniper rifles and you no-scope people until there's no one left. It's been around for a while and it's pretty fun. You can join a game straight away and get into sniping other people. There's no respawning, but rounds are really quick, so wait time isn't too long unless players are dicking around. You can pay to have a specific weapon at all times or just have a random gun each round. It also saves your wins, kills, and deaths each time you log in, which is nice. Has a couple of hundred players daily, but it's enough given the scale of the game and the fact that it's centered around one map. There is another version of the game though that has more maps called No Scope Sniping. You can play either one and they also have skins in them. Both are good options if you're looking for a fun Roblox shooter. Then there's Arsenal, and it is one of the best shooters that this platform has, and it might even be my favorite one so far. Great map and weapon variety, game modes, tons of skins, and a player base with thousands of players daily. The game modes also offer opportunities to try out different weapons, and Arsenal is a game revolved around the idea of gun game. Every time you get a kill or an assist, or when the timer runs out, you get given a different weapon, and there's a good chunk of them, I might add. Good chunk is an understatement in this game's case. In terms of movement and gunplay, it's like a more casual mix of Counter-Strike and Call of Duty. Each match always has interesting results because of the weapons that you can get from time to time. You can sink a ton of hours into this game, and you really do get a bang for your buck here. It's often considered as one of the best, and for good reason, and a lot of content creators and players swear by this one. I would say overall that this game, alongside Phantom Forces and Bad Business, are the cream of the crop so far in my experience of the Roblox shooter scene. There are also a ton of other Roblox shooters that I've yet to come across, like Deadline, Energy Assault, Bullet Bound, Aim Blocks, Weaponry, Operation Scorpion, Apocalypse Rising, etc. There's a good chunk of these games that exist on the market, provided that you can find them, and I haven't even tapped into the growing VR scene that's honestly quite impressive. I haven't touched my headset for a while, but I've been wanting to do some more VR stuff as well. Anyway, like any platform or engine, you have a lot of good and a lot of bad games, but the creative potential is always there. It just takes either an individual or a team of passionate people to make something truly great, as you can see in games like Arsenal or Bad Business or Phantom Forces, games that have a ton of content, plenty of players, and tons of progression to grind for. Are they ultimately a replacement for existing multiplayer games? Not necessarily, but they are definitely options worth trying out, and if you could look past the fact that it is Roblox, you'll generally be surprised with some of the stuff that you can find on there. Thank you for watching.